Hey, come on, I want to invite you into the home of Eileen Kolb. We get the pleasure to interview her. Mother's Day is coming up, and she is the elder mother here at Calvary Worship Center. And so we get a chance to see her. So come on into her home. Hello, Miss Eileen, how are you?
I'm fine.
I was just sharing, Eileen, that you've had some opportunities to go through some valleys in your life.
I have, absolutely. Just like everybody else.
Just like everybody else. And how many kids do you have?
6.
6 kids. And do they all live all around the United States?
Well, I have 5 that are I had lost 1 son. So I have 3 of them that live here in this area. 1 lives in Indianapolis and the other one lives in Massachusetts, Boston area, Massachusetts.
Okay. And I'm sure those kids have kids of their own.
They do.
And so you're a grandmother.
Grandmother.
And do you have the count?
12.
12.
Now I have great-grandchildren.
And you haven't finished.
No.
You have kids who have kids who have had kids.
Exactly.
So you're a great-grandmother.
Oh, yeah, many times.
Do you have the count there?
I think it's 13.
You have more great-grandkids than you even have grandkids.
And another one on the way, so.
What is that like?
Well, it's kind of bewildering sometimes to think from 2 people so many can, the families can grow like that, you know, it's amazing.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
Yes.
It's a blessing.
You say it's a blessing, and you also say it's amazing. Are there times when it's hard?
Not anymore. It was more difficult in my earlier years, of course.
Okay.
And that's the kind of the story that I wanted to tell. So anyway, I'd like to begin my story on May 20th, 1950. That was the date that I was married, okay?
Okay.
The following year, my first child was born on July the 12th, 51. On 1963, my last child was born, and I had twin daughters on 1955. So anyway, the years during that time were just like anybody else's, and we had our ups and downs and, you know, little valleys here and there, but things were pretty smooth. Then one day, at kind of the middle part, of the end part of the 60s, we had a huge financial crisis that hit the family. And that crisis, just like people are going through today, I can so feel what these people are going through today with their financial situations, and I'm just so, you know, fine-tuned to all that. So anyway, I reacted in a terrible way. I became fearful and depressed, and anxiety set in, and I was scared, and I just didn't know what to do, and I can just so feel what people are going through right now, because I know those are the emotions that they're feeling during this time that we're going through. But I was a believer in God. I believed in God, and I still do, of course. I believed in Jesus incarnate, who became flesh and who died on the cross for my sins, for the sins of the world, actually, and that he suffered and died a terrible death on the cross, and that he was raised from the dead to guarantee our eternity in heaven, okay? I believed all that, but my faith wasn't really that strong, and I was kind of out in the wilderness somewhere and trying to figure out what the heck was going on, and so I was turning to things like transcendental meditation, which was a big deal at that time, and other things I was turning to find spiritual, you know, strength, turning to all the wrong things, of course. And then through a little set of circumstances that happened, I found myself one day standing in my kitchen all by myself. And I call this like a light bulb experience, where it goes boing, you know, and I thought, gosh darn, I had the answer to everything all the time. It was Jesus. But there was something missing that I didn't understand at the time what was missing. It was part of him, but my part never showed up.
Oh.
My part, I realized, was the part that I had to understand that I was not such a great person. I had done a lot of things, and my thoughts, words, and deeds were not always the greatest things in the world. And I thought, oh my gosh, I have committed a lot of things. And that woke me up, and I just went into a deep feeling of sorrow of how I hurt myself, and how I mainly hurt my Jesus, who actually died for my sins, okay? So I got to the point where I just repented on my knees, that I just was so sorry for the things that I'd done, and that I accepted into my heart. I didn't do that until a little later on down the road. I decided that I still wasn't where I wanted to be. And then I knew that there was something else missing, and that missing thing was that I just needed to step back and understand that I couldn't keep everything under control on my own strength, okay? I came to Jesus and said, Lord, I'm so sorry. I come to you. I surrender all to you, Lord Jesus.
When you were in that kitchen, and you'd mentioned that your family had gone through a financial crisis, which kind of started you on this journey of self-discovery or looking for peace, and I guess at some point before then, you had a lot of security in your finances. I mean,
well, not a lot, but we were comfortable.
You were comfortable.
Yeah, we were comfortable. I mean, raising 6 kids, we weren't rich, that's for sure.
Right. So. But there was enough that when you didn't have the money, you really began to search.
So after that experience, and I understood how I was as far as with the relationship between Jesus and myself, I had found a job a little later on down the road. At that job, there was a man that worked there, and he was getting together a prayer and a little Bible study for some of the employees, and I decided that I would like to go to that, so I went to it. And then he invited me to go to a Bible study that he was having at his church every Friday. So I was hungry for the Bible, because I really was never trained in the Bible at all. And so I went, and with my husband, actually, he went as well. And I learned so much from that, but it set me on the trail that from that point on to this point that I'm in right now. And I mean, this has always been a red bed of roses. There's always thorns along the way. And I stumble and fall even to this day every once in a while, but now I know that I can pick myself up and dust myself off and say, Jesus, I'm so sorry for what I did, start over again. And then crisis has come along the way as well. I mean, it's not going to be beautiful all the time through life, but I'm learning, and I have learned that in a crisis, I know who to turn to for my comfort and my courage to get through those times. So it's been a long journey to this point, from the 60s until where I am right now. And I just feel that where I am right now, I have no idea what the future holds for me at this point in time. But I do know one thing, that I am looking forward to meeting Jesus face to face. So on this Mother's Day, I like to remember that, I mean, it's a wonderful thing that they've set one day aside a year for the mothers. But in my opinion, that day starts from the time you give birth to your first son until you take your last breath. That's Mother's Day to me.